Bonjour. Morning. La seduta è aperta.
The sitting is resumed. This morning's agenda's first item is a Council and Commission statement on the guidelines of the framework of future EU-UK relations. And I will begin by giving the floor to Ms. Panayotova, who will speak on behalf of the Council. Go ahead, Madam.
President, honourable members, we are at a critical juncture in the negotiations with the United Kingdom. We need to secure an orderly withdrawal and to put in place all the conditions for a transition period based on the status quo. We also need to outline the framework of the future relationship between the European Union and United Kingdom. It is particularly important for us that there is no backsliding on the commitments from the joint report, especially with regard to the three withdrawal issues, namely citizens' rights, financial settlement and Ireland. The UK set itself the goal of getting the transition agreed in March, with the shared understanding that this is a part of the overall package that is to be finalised in October. During last week's negotiations, some openings on the transition were made, and there was also some movement on various withdrawals. But we need to treat this cautiously. We need real and sustained progress in order to meet our deadlines. Looking beyond the transition period, we are determined to build with the United Kingdom a broad and close partnership. Our commitment to seek such a partnership is shared by the Parliament, as reflected in your resolutions. In fact, even the very first guidelines adopted by the European Council already indicated the desired scope and nature of this partnership. It is also clear, at least from a negotiation perspective, that the understanding of the framework for the future relationship, which will be reflected in a political declaration accompanying the withdrawal agreement, cannot be more detailed than what we know of the UK position. In that respect, we have, in fairness, to acknowledge that even though over the last 14 months there has been a succession of speeches outlining the UK's view on the future of our relations, we still need more concrete and more operational proposals. At the same time, there are no indications that the United Kingdom red lines have changed since last year. All this explains why the draft guidelines due to be adopted by the European Council on the 23rd of March are not more detailed. This will hopefully provide the political space for broader dynamics of the negotiations with the United Kingdom. In a nutshell, and again in reflection of the constraints set out by the UK position and by our principles and legal order, the forthcoming guidelines foresee that at the core of the partnership will be the elements of a free trade agreement focused on goods, but also including services. Trade facilitation elements such as customs cooperation, addressing barriers to trade, etc., are also envisaged. Two important sectors are also pointed out in the guidelines: fisheries and aviation, along with the basic principles that should govern the cooperation on them. Then, taking into account the importance and the proximity of the UK, the guidelines foresee robust provisions on a level playing field. Securing fair competition between businesses on both sides of the Channel is an important task if we want a properly functioning and ambitious FTA. The same logic applies to governance. The closer our relationship, the stronger its governance should be. As mentioned before, the future partnership with the United Kingdom is meant to be broad. Beyond the economic dimension, it should also reflect the commonality of interests and threats we share with the United Kingdom. This is why, in the proposed guidelines, you see provisions on police and judicial cooperation, as well as security, defence and foreign policy. The guidelines make it clear that the key point in this context is also preserving the autonomy of decision-making of the European Union. In that sense, the partnership we have in mind largely covers the same four pillars of four possible cooperation suggested by your resolution. Let me conclude by recalling that more than ever our unity matters. This holds true for the unity of the 27 member states, but also for the unity among our institutions. In this respect, I am very much reassured by the broad convergence of the priorities set out in your resolution and those flagged in the guidelines due to be adopted by the European Council. Thank you very much for your attention.
Ora prende la parola il Presidente.
Next speaker is the President of the European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker.
President, good morning. Honourable members. 304 days ago, the United Kingdom notified to the Council of the European Union that they wish to leave in 381 days on the 29th of March 2019. Well, 2018, sorry, 2019, sorry. On the 29th of March 2019, at midnight, the United Kingdom will have left the European Union.
Then we'll have to come when you will regret your decision.
Since the first few days of the negotiations, then obviously our objective has been and will continue to be to negotiate an orderly withdrawal of the United Kingdom in the interest of the United Kingdom, but in the interest of the European Union as well. As each day goes by, obviously we see that there is increasing urgency to negotiate this orderly withdrawal. And this pressing nature of the negotiations means that the European Union and the United Kingdom have to act with a certain methodology, transparency and pragmatism. And this method, pragmatism and transparency are at the heart of the text of the draft withdrawal agreement, which was adopted on the 28th of February last. And this is a legal translation, if you will, of the undertakings taken together by the Commission and the United Kingdom last December of 2017 in the joint report. Michel Barnier is now having a detailed discussion of the text together with the European Parliament and the Council of Ministers. The final draft on the withdrawal agreement will be submitted to our UK partners as a basis for negotiation and will reflect the unity of the 27 member states of the European Union and its institutions. I'd like to thank Michel and his team for the extraordinary job of work that they've been doing over the past months, weeks, days and nights in order to carry out these negotiations.
Michel Barnier.
My dear friend in German, my dear friend Michel Barnier and his team and myself as well, obviously are standing behind you to support this approach. We have the agreement that has been arrived at with the United Kingdom, and we now have a solid draft withdrawal text which sets out the rights for citizens. And the text itself is more than just a collection of paragraphs. We're talking about thousands and thousands, if not more, biographies. We're talking about life decisions being taken by citizens, and we don't want these citizens to fall victim to Brexit. And this is why EU citizens resident in the UK will maintain their rights, retain their rights after Brexit. And if you take a look at the draft withdrawal agreement, it is so specific that it means that citizens can go before the British courts in order to see that their rights are respected. For the time after Brexit, after withdrawal, then obviously the UK is interested in having a close partnership with the EU. We have to guarantee the integrity of the single market because citizens and companies have to be able to count on the same kind of achievements and rules for citizens and companies as well. And cherry picking is not going to be possible, nor are we going to be able to admit that social, environmental, taxation standards are undermined. I would rather have preferred the Britain's not to have decided to leave the European Union. But anybody who leaves the European Union has to know, frankly, what this means. Any kind of, if you decide to jettison, leave behind the common agreements and rules, then you have to accept that things cannot remain as they are. In English.
Prime Minister May gave us some more clarity on how the UK sees its future relationship with the European Union. As my good friend John Bruton wrote in a recent article, quote, "The most valuable test that Mrs May wishes to apply to a Brexit agreement is that it should be one that would endure and not require constant renegotiation," end of quote. I could not agree more, which means that everything that we say and that we do on both sides will require the utmost of clarity to help us pass the test. It's obvious that we need further clarity from the UK if we are to reach an understanding on our future relationship. We are preparing for this on the European Union side. Last week, President Tusk circulated draft guidelines that will be discussed by the leaders of the EU27 next week. As the clock counts down, with 1 year to go, it is now time to translate speeches into treaties, to turn commitments into agreements, broad suggestions and wishes on the future relationship to specific workable solutions. This is especially important when it comes to Ireland. Both the United Kingdom and the European Union have agreed that there should be no hard border between Ireland and Northern Ireland. The Good Friday Agreement must be preserved in all its dimensions, and life for citizens on both sides of the border should be the same as it is today. Both sides agreed in December that there are 3 options to do this. The first is through the future partnership agreement, if possible. The second is through specific solutions that the United Kingdom has said it will put forward. We are ready to work on these 2 options, but we need to receive concrete proposals from the United Kingdom first. The third option is the backstop solution. It would apply only if the first 2 options do not materialise. This scenario would see full alignment on those rules that protect the Good Friday Agreement, North-South cooperation and the all-island economy. The draft protocol on Ireland should not come as a surprise or a shock. It translates faithfully last December's agreement into a legal text. The European Union, this House, the 27 member states stand firm and united when it comes to Ireland. For us, this is not an Irish issue, it is a European issue.
It's a British issue, sir. It's a British issue. British issue, sir. British issue.
As you are saying, this is a European issue.
It's a British issue, sir.
It is all for one and one for all. That is what it means to be part of this union. We pool our resources and our sovereignty to strengthen one another and to give ourselves more sovereignty when dealing with the rest of the world. We see this with Brexit. We see this with trade. We see this across the board. As we build our future together, we must continue to make each other stronger by working together and building a more united, stronger, more democratic union. This must be our joint focus. We need to focus on our European future, not on the past and not on Brexit. Thank you.
Forward into the past, sir.